Hey everyone, it's Gary the Google Guy, and I have a special treat for you all today. I've actually recently done a G Suite tips and tricks session for another client, and I actually recorded that. I thought I would share a portion of that session with you, maybe to give you insight on some new things that you didn't know, and maybe there's some things there that you do already know and already use, but what this client had specifically requested. So, with that, and without further ado, here is myself with some G Suite tips and tricks. So the first thing I want to introduce you to is something that not a lot of people have played with because they just don't know what it is. And that is Google Keep as a program. You probably noticed that when Google kind of refurbished and gave a new view and updated look to the Gmail screen, to the right side of your screen, you see this little side panel. Most people will typically click on the calendar option because they're familiar with it. And then there is the keep option and the tasks for their to-dos. A lot of people haven't played with Google Keep, but I find it's one of Google's best kept secrets. Google Keep is a note-keeping program similar to like a OneNote or other note-keeping programs that you may be used to, but it has a bunch more functionality kind of woven in without your or within your Google account, connecting to Google Mail, to Google Calendar, to Google Drive, and on all aspects of it. So to kind of give you a few tips about that, I would like to show you what it is and how to operate within a couple of things, mail and calendar wise. First off, if you don't have it on your phone, you can get it on your phone by going to your Apple Store, Google Play, download Google Keep. It's a standalone program that you can connect to your account. You can also access it from that 9-dot grid button within your account, and you'll see that it is a gold icon, and mine is just to the right side there with a light bulb on it. Now, when you use Google Keep and from this view, you can do a lot more than just from the view within Mail, Calendar, or your Drive screens. So I'm going to jump into that for just a moment just to show you what it is, then we're going to play with it. So this is its kind of homepage, shall we say, as a standalone application. You'll see to the left side, you have some different navigation pieces. Now, what's unique about Google Keep is that you can create, whether it's to-do list or just simple notes that you want to type out, copy and paste from whatever it may be, documents, emails, websites, and put them into a little note. Now, I've got my notes here that are in blue and in red. Now, what's kind of cool about this is that you have the ability for your notes to share them out like a drive file. So let's say, for example, I've got Paul as my coworker and we have a project that we're working on together. We both have to get things accomplished for this project. Now, obviously, when we're working together, we don't always have the same schedule of he's in some meetings, I'm not, and vice versa. So by sharing this list of our project to-do list, if Paul finishes something in his screen, he can click on one of the boxes and I will see what he has done in my screen. So you can share these notes out like a drive file. So you have the collaboration aspect. You can also add images and just basic data. Group them according to your different labels to the left there. Color code them, to-do lists. And then more importantly, I'm going to show you a couple of tricks that a lot of people don't know you can do, which is we're going to create a keep note from an email, and we're also going to connect a keep note as a calendar reminder. And it could be connected from that same Gmail note that we do or from something completely different. So let us jump back to our mail screen. So let's say, for example, I have gotten this email from someone that says, oh, hey, here's a good email, meet about project ABC. So I go into this email and I'm reading about it and, oh, should we meet sometime next week or this week about things? Yes, I definitely need to do that, and we'll need to schedule something. So while I'm in this email, I can go to the right side of my screen in this little panel, click on the keep icon, opens up our panel with all of our notes that we had from before. And when I click into the take a note option, you'll notice that right away it has already created a connection to the email that we are currently reading. So I could title this of schedule meeting. If I could spell correctly, there we go. Take a note. Create meeting with Gary. Done. And now I've got that note stored. I've got that link for that. If I click on it, I'll see that. So let's say I've gone about my day and I'm reading other emails and things are coming on. Oh, you know what? I need to go schedule that meeting. So I can click into that note, click onto the email link, and you'll see it opens up a new tab so I can keep where I'm going within Mail itself, and it will immediately go into Google Mail, into that specific email that we created the note from. So this is a really cool piece that you can use for things that are maybe to-dos or important pieces of information to keep. You want to have them within your Google Keep frame. Now I can also do some things in Calendar with notes. So let me go to our Google Keep screen again. And here it is automatically in our view. And I need to just correct that. I don't know why it didn't save that, but there we go. And let's say I've got to create this meeting by Friday. So what I can do is I can actually create a reminder connected to Google Calendar. And keep in mind, we're doing this also from the one that we created on the email. So you can kind of overlap things, mail, calendar, and so on. Or I could have done this to another note. I can click on the lower left corner of Remind Me. And you'll see it will say remind me, whether it's later today, tomorrow, next week, or I can pick a date and time. So if I pick a date and time, I could say, you know what, I want to do this for today, the 27th, and let us do this for a custom 3:00 p.m. I don't want this repeating, although you could do that. And then we'll click on Save. So now I've got my reminder set up. Well, how does this work? Let's close out of this, and now let's jump into our Google Calendar. And now with our Google Calendar, when we do a quick refresh on things here, we should see that pop up. If I have my reminders turned on, oh, we got to turn those on. You'll see that in the bottom right or bottom left of our screen, there is in orange, schedule meeting. And there we have what we created as a reminder. Now, reminders are really cool in Google Calendar because you can actually have these pop up on your phone as well. Now, you'll also see here in the bottom of this box, view the related note in Google Keep. So if I'm in Calendar, I don't have Keep open, I can click on this link and it will bring that note up right away for me to start working with and utilizing that note, color coding it, organizing it, sharing it out, or otherwise. So I find that Google Keep is a really, really useful program. I use it for a lot of different use case scenarios, but this is just a couple that are probably the most common that you may want to start using today. So now what I'd like to do is jump over to Google Drive. So everybody uses Google Drive, kind of the what is it and how does it work type of thing. It's a lot like what you have for your Windows Explorer, your Mac Finder. You see folders, you see files, and my screen may look a little different in yours because I have my quick access turned off and such. You'll notice to the right side of the screen there is that same Google Keep icon. Hint, hint, you can use it from Drive as well, and internally to docs, sheets, and slides and such. But what I want to show you real briefly in Drive, because since you've all kind of been there, done that, and got the t-shirt for using Drive, I want to just show you a little unorthodox way of thinking. And that is using your starred area differently than what you may use it for. Now, most people typically use the starred area to the left here for those files that are favorites, quick access, okay? I have way too many of those. I'm accessing way too many files on a regular basis that there's just too many to find. It would be virtually no different than me just going through my Drive view of files. So what I typically use my starred area for is for those items that are either unfinished or need approving. So they're unapproved. So this could be a contract that I am working on with a client. I'm waiting for a signature. I'm waiting for some information to add to it. Those types of things. Or maybe I just have got the contract done, I've ran it through my boss, and I am just waiting for my boss to give me the thumbs up approval on it, and then from there I can move on with that file. So it's a little different than favorites because I have way less amount of files that are unfinished or waiting on approval than I do for favorites. So that's just kind of my way of thinking, maybe a little different way for you to think. It's just something unique and different. I try to think outside the box and think a little differently in how I can use the tools as opposed to what everybody else does. So just wanted to bring that up because it's a kind of basic little fact that you can use within the Drive interface itself. Now, the next thing I'd like to do is go into a Google Doc and show you a couple of tools that you can use there. So one of the first things I want to show you is one of the coolest pieces in my opinion, just like I said, because I really stink at typing, as you've seen from my typing skills of not being able to type the word schedule properly. I'm one of those old school people that actually had a typewriter class. Ribbons always dried out. The only thing I remember from it are the home keys, had the little dimples on it, and you always use your thumbs for the space bar, but that's it. I can never get the whole pinky and ring finger typing thing down, so I'm typically a chicken pecker. However, with Google giving me the ability to type with my voice, and I can even format an entire file with my voice, I use that 9 times out of 10 as opposed to typing. It's really simple to use. I would highly recommend that if you are going to use this, one, make sure that you have earbuds with a microphone to it like you use for your phone, or a headset with a microphone to it. If you want really high quality and accuracy, get the noise dampening microphone that may be a part of your headset. Either way, it will give you about 99% accuracy. Now, I used to use way back in the day Dragon, which was a voice recording type of program that you literally had to teach it your voice and how you pronunciate certain things. You had to speak slowly, you had to enunciate very clearly, and it took longer to speak what you wanted as opposed to just talking. Google, you don't have to do that. So I use this all the time for taking notes. If I have a training, I can go into a file on my phone, put my earbuds in and speak, and it will record all of my thoughts. I also like to use this for brainstorming sessions between a coworker and myself in front of each other. We know that we're recording it and we don't miss a beat with someone having to write something down. A couple of use cases that I use. So how do you use this? Where do you get it? If you are using a laptop and you don't have earbuds or a microphone, your accuracy will depend on how far away your mouth is from the microphone. And they are in different places on different machines, so I can't really pick out what you have in front of you. But what you're going to do to activate this from a laptop view is you go to Tools. You will see in the middle of that menu, Voice Typing. A little window will pop up in the upper left. Now, if you would like some information about this and what you can say and do, click on the little question mark and it will bring up a help box and it will walk you through the process of how to type with your voice, how to turn your microphone on your computer if you need to, and then it will show you all the different voice commands, over 300 by the way, for commanding what you speak as well as formatting and so on. So I highly recommend going through that just to kind of give you an idea of what you can do with this tool. But to demonstrate how this works, I am not going to type because I can't type this fast, but we're going to enable this and I'm going to speak into my microphone and it's going to record what I say. I want you to pay attention to how I enunciate things and the speed of my voice. Also watch my screen for the accuracy. So to activate this, we're just going to click on the microphone icon. So now that we've enabled the voice typing feature in our Google Docs, I can now speak very clearly at a normal pace, and it will also pick up my voice with 100% accuracy we're going with right now, period. Now I can also add punctuation. I can add commas, exclamation points, and things of that nature if I need to, period. But you'll notice that I do not have to speak very slowly. I don't have to enunciate very clearly. It picks my voice up with very, very good accuracy, speaking at a normal pace as I normally would, period. Now you may have to go back and tweak a couple of things here or there. Usually it's with either capital letters or slang that you may use, but for the most part, you are going to be dead on accurate with what you're saying. Now, to type this little paragraph, I would have still been typing, and I probably would have been, about right there where it says voice. That's how slow a typer I am. So voice typing is a very, very good tool to use. If you're slow with typing, you want to gather your thoughts really quickly. I use this all the time, like I'm walking down the street or if I'm driving. If you're going to pull it up on a mobile device, you pull it up like you're going to edit the file. Your keyboard will pop up, and you forget that on that keyboard, you have a microphone. You don't have to speak very slowly. You don't have to enunciate very clearly, and it gives you pretty much 95 to 100% accuracy with what you are typing. Now, if you, let's say, for example, you are of Spanish speaking descent, you can actually speak Spanish and it will automatically add that as opposed to English text. I tried that when I was in Tokyo for a training, and it worked perfectly for them. So it's a great tool to utilize. Try it. You'll find that you can use this in a number of different scenarios. Okay. All right. So another thing that I usually get people asking me about is, I use Word, and Word is really on the high end of things when it comes to formatting and working with things. And I can agree that there is a higher amount of formatting options in Microsoft Word. However, the 95 percentile of people that are using text document programs typically can do everything within Google Docs that they need to. One of the first things I have people ask me is, well, in Microsoft Word, you can do things like columns, and you can't do that in Google Docs. Well, you actually can. If you go to Format, you'll see that you've got some different things in terms of all of your different formatting options for your text and your fonts and things like that. But you also have the option of formatting your entire document for your different columns, and you can even do a custom option here if you would like. You also have all the different things that you're probably typically used to using in terms of your text for your bold, italicize, underline, strike through, and all of those wonderful things. Paragraph styles is another piece that some people utilize. You can do borders and shading where you can typically separate paragraphs and use lines in those. Also, your different heading options. And then underneath options, if you typically use the same format over and over again, you can set that up and then go to save as my default styles, and then it will save that for the next time that you create a Google Doc. If you ever need to reset that and undo those for another type of document, you can click on reset styles and then set up a brand new option if you need to go thereafter. Okay, so those are some different options that you can do with basic formatting. Also underneath file, you have your option for page setup. One of the things that I really like here is that if you are unique from the business world, instead of doing 1-inch margins for anything and everything that you do, you can change these and then click on set as default in the bottom left of that. And you can set that up as your default margin option. Sometimes people will want to do this because when they're printing, they print it out. They have to tweak it for every time they print to a specific printer margin set. You can do that as a default if you would like to do that there. Okay, so those are a couple of different things that you can do for formatting in docs themselves. Other things that you can utilize are the rulers. The rulers have recently been tweaked where you have more functionality with the rulers, whether it's within a table or whether it's just for the document itself. Your tab options, your ending as in your justification ends, you can do some of those things as well. You can also go up to the view piece and click on that view ruler and show that and utilize those. And you also have the option for the equation toolbar, show your section breaks, and for mode, you can go into your different modes as well as in the upper right corner for that. Now with the mode piece, just a quick 5 cents worth on here, call this a bonus tip for you. Most people don't realize it or remember to, but you can actually put yourself in suggesting edit mode for a file. And then anything that you want to suggest as an edit to the file will pull out like you were given suggested edit. Then you can put yourself back into editing mode there. So those are some different things that you can do with that. Now, the next thing to show you what we can do with some additional options is the formatting of your tables. So if we go to insert table, and let's just do a 2x3 piece, you'll have some different options with your tables themselves. Probably the most common is going to be the size of the font and the font itself, the bold, italicized, underline. You can use all those tools. And then some people want to print things out in a table view, but they don't want to show the borders, or they want different border lines for different things. If you click on the specific line that you want, you will see the option pops up to the top where we can change our border width to a specific point thickness, a line type. We can even give it a different color. You can also go interior and click on any of those. It will give you some of those different options. We can click on the whole thing and it will give you different options to be able to move your lines up and down, left and right. You can change the size of these things. You can change the border for all of your different lines that you may want for your cells, the whole 9 yards. So you've got the option to be able to tweak anything and everything that you want with this. You want to hide the lines completely, you can do that too, while keeping all of your text in that format of a table. Just kind of a heads up on that. When you do that, sometimes it makes editing things a little wonky. So just kind of be aware that there is a table there that's what you're trying to modify. Okay, so I just wanted to show you those couple of different formatting options that you can do in regards to your tables as well as for your files themselves. Now, the next thing I'd like to do is jump over into Google Sheets. We're going to try and hit up on all of our Drive things, Drive, Sheets, Docs, Slides, the whole nine. We're going to try and give you something for everything. So one of the things that I find is a very helpful tool for me is being able to analyze data quickly without having to generate formulas, without having to think. So I've got just a typical numerical piece of data here. These are stock prices from Google back in 2015. So just some numbers, but I need to analyze something. So if I want to analyze something, a lot of times what people will do is say, well, what do we have for numbers for this 2-week period? So they would typically grab that data, then they would set their formula for what they want, create whatever they're doing for that, whether it's a pivot table or something other than that, look at the data and then delete it. I don't. I typically will grab my data that I want to look at. And then down in the bottom right, you'll see two options. We have our sum bar, which if you click on that, very quickly you can get a sum of numbers. We could look at an average of those, a minimum, a maximum, how many cells you've selected very quickly without thinking. Okay. The other tool that you can use is going to be your Explore tool. So if I click on this data that we wanted, let's say we want to grab to the 20th, there we go. We're going to click Explore. And when we click on Explore, you'll see the right side panel pops out, and up at the very top, we have sum, average, minimum, maximum, the count. I can ask questions in regards to this data. Maybe what's the mean of these numbers or something like that. And I can actually type that question in using my typical language, and it will give me those answers. Another really great thing that I really like is in the Explore tool, it will look at the data that you've selected and it will automatically try to generate a chart for you. Now, you can do this in a couple of different ways with analyzing your data. We can just click this chart and drag and drop it into our screen and use this. We can put it to a separate sheet very quickly. And now we've got it down in the bottom left there on a separate sheet. And if I go back to that same Explore tool, it will also give me the option of viewing it full size before adding it. I'll be able to insert it with that other button there. If I go to my chart that they generated for me, I also have all the options to modify this chart, color it differently, maybe change the style of the chart. In other words, I can go into that chart editor and really work with the chart as needed. And I didn't have to generate the chart myself. Google did it for me. So why not take advantage of that? All right, so that's something that you may want to use. That quick analyzation of data, just grab it, go down to the bottom. You can look at that Explore tool or just that quick lookup piece in that bottom right corner where mine says sum. Now, the next thing I want to show you is connected to Sheets, but it's going to be in Slides. So I'm going to jump into my slide deck that I have. Now, in my slide deck, let me just do a quick refresh on this to kind of boot it back up. There we go. In my slide deck, I have a couple of different slides that I have copied from other slide decks and added to my current one. Now, those numbers and data within those couple of slides could change, whether it's a friend, coworker, whomever has been modifying that data, and I need to present and get the real-time data right now. So what I've got here is I've got this staff members slide that I copied and pasted here, and then I've got a pie chart. I selected this from a Google Sheet. I selected the staff member piece from another slide deck. So I'm going to show you how to link the data up and how to double check data if it ever gets modified before you go on to presenting. So one of the things that you can do is, let's say, for example, my coworker has gone into the slide deck that I grabbed that initial from, and they need to update things. So they go into, let's say, for example, this Australia piece. They're going to change this to the most current staff numbers. So they're going to bump this up to 1,500. I am unaware of this change right now. I'm about to present my slide deck, number one, to my boss and other important members of my staff. So I need to have the most current and accurate information there. Now, meanwhile, while I'm getting ready to present, another coworker has gone into their sheet and they've modified the chart that I grabbed. So in that specific sheet, I had a pie chart and we were talking about budgeting and so on. Now I'm going to change the housing budget, which right now it's at 54.3%. My coworker, let's just say that, is going to change this to 30,000 and click away. That updates that chart to 47.2%. Like I said, meanwhile, I'm about to go on presenting. So if I go to my initial slide, I will now see for my slide one that we grabbed information from, in the upper right-hand corner, it says update. That lets me know that since it was connected to that other slide, something's changed. So I can click on update here if I want, and it will automatically update our Australia total from 1,000 to that 1,500. Another thing, if I go to my next slide and have a quick look, it says update on that. Lets me know that something has changed from here, and it looks like our housing value is at 54.3%, our old value. Now you have two options here. One, you can update one at a time by clicking on that update link. The quickest and the smartest and efficient way of doing things here is to go to Tools. If you ever have a slide deck that you have multiple things linked to, maybe from multiple files or multiple areas within your slide deck, the quickest way is to go to Tools, go to Linked Objects. To the right, it will show you all of the things that have been modified. Now I can click on these one at a time if I want to click and review them and just make sure that I want to modify those or update them. Or down at the bottom, you'll see an update for update all. So I can immediately update everything. Let's say, for example, right now in Denver, it is 11:44 a.m. I need to present in exactly 1 minute to you. I may not have time to go through my slide deck and hit those 15 different updates. So I can click update all. And with the click of a button, everything's been updated. I can now go right to my presentation now that it's 11:45. I need to start presenting to you. And bada boom, bada bing, upper right-hand corner, click present, and we are ready to roll. So linked data in charts and sheets to your slides can be a very handy tool if you ever need to grab data from those areas. Make sure that you're up to date so you don't give false data to whomever you may be presenting to. Okay, so that is what I have for you in terms of docs, sheets, and slides. Now, since you've all been patient with me, I appreciate you all attending our session today. I'm going to give you an additional bonus tip. This is one of the most useful tips that I can give you in regards to Google Drive, managing and organizing your files within Drive. So let me just jump back to that. If you ever need to add a file to multiple folders, single file, multiple locations, if you edit the file, it would automatically update in all of those locations. You're going to want to use a shortcut. The shortcut is the Shift button plus the Z button, as in zebra. If you select a file, then Shift Z, it will bring up a box for you to add that file to. So we can select and we can put this into another folder. In the bottom right-hand corner, you will see the Add option, not Move. Move is very different Move it is actually moving it out of one place into another, but the add option will give you the ability to add it as in a link to that file or folder to another place. So that is a very handy tip that I can give you there. So if you're not a shortcut user, you may want to jot that one down because that can be a very helpful organizational tool and shortcut for you. Once again, everyone, I'd like to thank you for attending this session. I hope you've enjoyed the material that I presented here. I know it was a little bit lengthier than my 1 to 3 minute videos that I usually do for new features, but since this client requested this special session, I thought I would share a portion of that with you and maybe give you some insight on some of those things that you could employ right away within your own G Suite account. Until we meet again, everyone, once again, this is Gary the Google Guy, signing off. Goodbye now.